your first singles WrestleMania was WrestleMania 8 in Indianapolis when it was you and Roddy Piper. And Piper, to my recollection, had zero pinfall losses on WWE for years, even through the Hogan stuff. He never took a pinfall loss. And then you guys have this babyface versus babyface match for the Intercontinental Championship, and he gets beaten clean by you. Can you talk a little bit about how that match came about, who pitched it to you, and what your memories are of Roddy putting you over?
Well, I think I owe so much to Roddy. Roddy did so much for me that most of the other wrestlers wouldn't have done for me. And you hear wrestlers talk about me sometimes. I've heard wrestlers that I have a lot of respect for always go, who would have ever thought Bret Hart was going to be a big star? Like, then nobody in the dressing room, they rated me as a great worker, but they didn't rate me as a great star. Like, I had no. To a lot of them, they felt I didn't have any charisma or personality, which I don't agree. I never thought that was the case for me. But Roddy was the only guy to stick his neck out and say, you know what, I'm going to make this guy. I'm going to make him. Put me in a single match with Bret Hart, and I'll put him over. And I think Roddy saw that I was always really good friends with Roddy. In fact, we thought we might be related. He's got on his side of the family, he's got Toombs, and on my side of my dad's family, I got Toombs. But his is spelled with T-O-O, and mine's just with one O or something like that. So we thought we might be related, but maybe when we were cavemen or monkeys or something, we were related. But we had fun with that, and I think he always treated me like a little brother, kind of, and always took me under my wing, especially when I first got to WWF and in the very beginning. And so I had a lot of respect for Roddy, and when they put that match together, I should mention that Curt Hennig already helped me a lot by dropping the belt to me at SummerSlam. So Curt was the first guy to step up, and then Roddy was the next guy to step up and say, I want to work with Bret Hart, and I'm going to try to make this guy a big star for the company. And he did. He really the push that the push that Roddy gave me was huge for me. And I was a little bit worried because me and Roddy were really good friends, and sometimes when you're really good friends, you don't have the best matches. Sometimes you can try too hard. But Roddy and me, I didn't see Roddy that much in those days, but I remember he did finally end up in a town with me. I think it was in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And we had the first sort of chance. We were wrestling in about 3 weeks at WrestleMania, and I remember it's like the first chance we had a chance to talk. And I was like, Roddy, what are we going to do? And because Roddy he was always saying stuff like, we might have to shoot for it, and I was always like, what does that mean? Like, we're going to shoot for it. Like, what like, I don't know. I think he was just always pulling my tail. But anyway, we sat down in this restaurant and we started to really get serious about the match. Like, what are we doing in this match? Like, what do you want to do? And I remember he said, this is what I was thinking. And he started to talk about the match. This is kind of how wrestlers work. You sit down and try to strategize and figure out what would be the best way to tell a story in the match. And, I remember I had my own ideas at the time about all the things I wanted to do and how I wanted to start the match and how I wanted to go into the ending and different things that I had put a lot, like I always do with all my matches, I put a lot of thought into it, and a lot of deep thought, and one move, what happens after this move goes to the next move. And I was always, back in those days, pretty complicating for pro wrestling at the time. But I remember when Roddy and me sat down, I remember like before he even spoke, I thought, I hope I like the idea. Like, I hope he doesn't give me a really crappy idea where I go, Roddy, we're not going to do that. Something like that. I had too much respect for him. But, and at the same time, I didn't want to be telling Roddy Piper how to have a match. And it's just one of those really great things I can say about wrestling Roddy was I waited for him to talk to me about the match, and finally he started to talk to me, and he repeated almost the exact same match that I had in my head for maybe 2 or 3 weeks everybody goes, how about this? We start out like this. And I was like, exactly how I wanted to start out. The whole match was almost, Roddy laid out the whole match to me, and it was almost a blueprint of what I had in mind to do with him. And the ending of the match was Roddy's idea. That was something he must have done somewhere. But it was, if you ever watch that, it's it's a testimony to Roddy as a wrestler and as a friend too, that he came up with that finish where he put me in the sleeper hold, I guess, and then I pushed off the top turnbuckle with my foot. But I was a 235-pound guy in those days. There's only one way to when I push off that top turnbuckle, I'm landing with 235 pounds flat on your face and on your neck, and I landed right on top of Roddy, and it had to be a hard fall. And I knew it I even said to him that night before we did it, I was like, you don't think that's gonna hurt, like falling back? And it's like, and I think he was like, yeah, it'll probably hurt, and I assume it did. But he was that kind of a guy that he was going to do that for me anyway. And Roddy, he had so much to do with all the success I had after. Roddy was the first guy to really open the door for me. And there's other guys that came along that never opened those doors for me. Guys like Hogan and different guys. But I always respected Roddy so much for doing for me what he did.
Well, I also, yeah. I know we're talking about WrestleMania matches, but I have to also ask you about WrestleMania the album. It's never the right time to say goodbye. So there's this album,
4 in England.
Number 4. Yeah, it did well, surprisingly. So they come to WWF. Simon Cowell, I can't even imagine what drugs he must have been on at the time. So he goes, let's not only do it, because the single, you can understand. You can go, okay, let's get all the wrestlers to do a single. That makes sense. But let's have them all do album singles. If you've never heard Tatanka Buffalo, it's the worst thing. It's just backing track, Tatanka Buffalo. And then they have you do one as well. So can you talk through from your perspective what the hell was going on? And what your reaction is when they say, hey, Bret, can we do a single with you?
Well, I just won the title, so I was kind of agreeing to anything. I was on top of the world and feeling really good. And they told me that I'm got to record this song. They gave me the lyrics to it. Never the right time to say goodbye. And I remember trying to, because I can't sing. I'm not even a kid anyone that I can sing, because I can't. And so I remember reading it and going, I can't sing this. I can't sing. So you got to sing it. And you're flying over to England and they got some hotshot producer and they're going to make this album and all that. So I remember we flew all the way over. Literally, as soon as I got off the plane from flying over, they dragged me to some studios, and some famous studio. I don't know if it's where they recorded a bunch of famous records and stuff, and I didn't know who Simon Cowell. Yeah, I didn't know who he was back then. But he was really nice, and he said, he was really professional with me, and so we're gonna work with you and bring this song, we're gonna bring it out of you and all this stuff. And I said, I can't sing. I could really trust me. I can't sing. We'll have to come up with something else. And he goes, so just try it one time, and have a go at it, and then we'll see what we got. And so I said, well, anyway, so they put the thing on, and I had the headset, and I had to sing. And I sang my best. So I sang the absolute best I could. And then he said, as soon as I was done, he goes, okay, well, let's do it your way. And so I always know that he was right, and I was right. I can't sing. And so then we did the song. I remember trying to describe it to him sort of like David Lee Roth, kind of like where you talk through the song, and so I wanted to kind of just talk through it and try to be I thought that would work. better than singing it. So that was my contribution, to that song.
I mean, you were nowhere near the worst. There's a Nasty Boys single, which is it's awful. Please YouTube it if you've not seen it. Or listen to it.
After the Hall of Fame, how are you feeling? Because that was a disgrace.
I'm fine. I had no ill effects from any of that. I think it was a worse night for that guy. I know it was the showstopper. Anyway, I'm just glad that it wasn't anything serious, and I hope whatever problems that guy had, that he takes them out on someone else.
Is there part of you that if you've maybe seen the footage back where Scott Dawson of the Revival decided to have a little swing? I mean, is there a little bit of solace in that? You might have tried to ruin my night, but at least because Bret went on and had a great speech with Jim Neidhart. Let's give him a round of applause for that.
Well, the truth is that it was a big deal. It was a big deal to. It was a big deal to lose Anvil this past year or that year, and just to know how much it meant to Jim. When you think of all the time and all the miles you make in airplanes and car rides and all the cities and all the experiences you have with a guy like Jim Neidhart. We were such good friends. I was determined to make my speech for Jim and have our moment, and I was really dead set on finishing my speech, and I'm glad I did. I was never going to let that guy ruin my night.